In 2018, one luxury fashion company destroyed more than $37 million worth of brand new clothes, handbags, accessories, and perfume. These weren't damaged products sitting in a warehouse. They were perfectly good items that customers would have happily bought if they had ever been given the chance. To put that number into perspective, $37 million is enough money to buy hundreds of homes in many parts of America. Yet instead of selling those products and recovering some of the money, the company chose to destroy them completely. And this wasn't some strange one-time mistake made by a single company. For years, several luxury brands quietly destroyed unsold products behind the scenes, often without most customers ever realizing it was happening. Now, if you're like most people, your first reaction is probably the same. Why would any business throw away products worth millions of dollars when they could simply put them on sale and still make money? After all, that's how almost every normal business works. When products don't sell, stores usually lower the price, clear out inventory, and move on with their lives, instead of sending sweaters to the afterlife. So why would a company look at a warehouse full of valuable products and decide that burning them is somehow the better business decision? The answer turns out to have very little to do with fashion itself. It has much more to do with psychology, status, and the way luxury brands convince people that their products are special. And once you understand how the money actually flows through the luxury industry, you'll see why some brands are willing to lose millions today to protect something they believe is worth far more tomorrow. Most people believe luxury brands make money the same way every other clothing company does. They design products, sell as many as possible, and try to maximize profits through higher sales. For example, if you see a designer handbag priced at $4,000, it's easy to assume the company wants to sell thousands of those bags as quickly as possible. More sales usually mean more revenue. That logic works perfectly for most businesses. Fast food restaurants want more customers. Supermarkets want more shoppers. Phone companies want more subscribers. Luxury brands are different. In some cases, selling fewer products can actually strengthen the brand and make future customers willing to pay even more. Think about a concert with only 100 tickets available. The tickets become valuable partly because most people can't get one. Scarcity creates demand. Luxury brands spend years creating that exact feeling. They want customers to believe their products are rare, exclusive, and reserved for a small group of people. If everyone suddenly sees luxury jackets being sold at a 70% discount, that image starts to crack. The products immediately feel less exclusive than they did before. What's interesting is that nothing about the product has actually changed. The materials are the same, the craftsmanship is the same, and the logo is still sitting in exactly the same place. The only thing that changes is how people feel about it. And in the luxury world, feelings often have a surprisingly large impact on what customers are willing to pay. This is usually the public explanation luxury companies give. They say limiting supply helps preserve exclusivity and protects the image customers are paying for. But even if that's true, there's still a problem. Destroying millions of dollars worth of products sounds incredibly expensive, and businesses generally don't enjoy setting money on fire. To understand why they do it anyway, we need to stop looking at the clothes and start following the money. That's where the real story begins. Let's break this down step by step. Because luxury brands are not only selling a physical product, they're also selling status, identity, and the feeling of owning something that other people can't easily get. Imagine a designer handbag regularly sells for $5,000. Over time, customers start accepting that price because they rarely see the product offered for anything less. Now imagine the company suddenly starts clearing out inventory and offers the exact same bag for $1,500. At first, customers might celebrate because they're getting a bargain. But very quickly, another thought appears. If the company can sell it for $1,500 and still make money, was it ever truly worth $5,000 in the first place? That question is dangerous for luxury brands because their pricing power depends heavily on trust. Once people start questioning the value, they may start questioning the brand itself. And that brand image can be worth an enormous amount of money. Some luxury companies are valued in the tens or even hundreds of billions of dollars, largely because customers believe their products are exclusive. A real-world example came in 2018 when Burberry revealed it had destroyed approximately £28.6 million worth of unsold products, equal to roughly $37 million at the time. According to the company, this was done partly to protect the brand and prevent products from being sold through unauthorized channels. But Burberry's revelation created an even bigger controversy. Because if protecting exclusivity is worth destroying tens of millions of dollars in products, then just how valuable is that exclusivity really? And what happens when customers, investors, and the public start pushing back against the entire idea? When news about Burberry's destroyed products became public, many people were shocked. Customers couldn't understand why perfectly usable goods were being destroyed, while millions of people around the world would have gladly bought them. The backlash was so strong that it quickly became a public relations problem. In simple terms, a public relations problem means people start viewing your company negatively, which can damage your reputation. Not long after the criticism grew, Burberry announced it would stop destroying unsold products. The company said it had found alternative ways to handle excess inventory. But here's what's interesting. The outrage wasn't only about waste. It also exposed something many people had never realized about luxury fashion before. Luxury brands aren't always trying to sell every item they produce. Sometimes protecting the image of the brand becomes more important than maximizing short-term sales. Imagine a company has 10,000 luxury handbags left over at the end of the season. Discounting all of them might generate some extra cash today, but it could also teach customers to simply wait for future sales. And once customers learn that waiting saves thousands of dollars, many stop paying full price. That's a dangerous habit for companies that depend on premium pricing. Think about it this way. If your favorite luxury brand suddenly had massive sales every month, it would start feeling less like a luxury brand and more like a department store trying to clear shelves. That's why some luxury companies are willing to sacrifice a small amount of inventory if they believe it helps preserve higher prices across thousands of future sales. To them, the real product isn't just the handbag or jacket. The real product is exclusivity, the feeling that not everyone can have it. And exclusivity becomes incredibly valuable when customers associate ownership with status. People aren't only buying a product, they're buying what that product says about them. That's one reason luxury companies spend enormous amounts on advertising, celebrity partnerships, and flagship stores in famous shopping districts. They're constantly reinforcing the image that makes premium prices possible. For example, luxury giant LVMH, which owns brands such as Louis Vuitton, generated more than 86 billion euros in revenue during 2023. That's over $90 billion, roughly equal to the entire annual economic output of some small countries. A big reason companies like this succeed is because customers believe their products are rare and desirable. That perception helps justify prices that are often many times higher than production costs. This doesn't mean luxury products are cheap to make. Many use high-quality materials and skilled craftsmanship, but the final price often includes something much less tangible: brand value. Brand value is simply the extra amount people are willing to pay because of the name attached to the product. It's why two similar-looking bags can have dramatically different prices. And once you understand that, the decision to destroy inventory starts making more sense from a business perspective. Not necessarily a moral perspective, but a business one. But here's the twist that changes the entire story. Many luxury brands no longer need to burn products to achieve the same result. Instead, they've become much better at controlling production. They often manufacture fewer items than they believe they could sell, reducing the risk of excess inventory in the first place. In other words, scarcity isn't always an accident. Sometimes it's part of the plan from the very beginning. When customers see waiting lists that stretch for months, they often assume demand is incredibly high. Sometimes that's true, but limited supply can also play a major role. The less available something appears, the more people tend to want it. Human psychology has worked this way for centuries. Ironically, destroying products was never really the main story. The main story was the lengths companies were willing to go to protect the illusion of scarcity. Because in the luxury world, scarcity often creates desire. Desire creates demand, and demand helps support prices that can remain high for years. That's why a luxury company may fear discounts far more than unsold inventory. Discounts can weaken the perception that took decades to build. And once customers stop believing a product is exclusive, rebuilding that belief can be far more expensive than the inventory itself. So the next time you see a luxury handbag priced at several $1,000s, remember, you're not just looking at leather, stitching, and hardware. You're also looking at years of carefully managed perception. In the end, luxury brands weren't really protecting clothes. They were protecting an idea. And sometimes that idea was worth more to them than millions of dollars in actual products. So what do you think? If you owned a luxury brand, would you rather discount unsold inventory and make some money back? Or protect the brand's exclusivity even if it meant destroying products? If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more deep dives into the surprising business decisions hiding behind the world's biggest brands.